All right, great thumbnail. All right, boys, this is how to break negative cycles. It is a 5-step process that lines up with the acronym BREAK. And this is the first thing I'm gonna dive into right off the bat. The first thing that gets you into this negative cycle is fatigue, aimlessness, discouragement, and then ego. So, fatigue, this is elicited by bad inputs. A lot of the times you'll see these self-improvement creators and they tell you just wake up early and wake up early and wake up early. Your sleep falls back. You don't really know why you're doing what you're doing. You're aimless. You get guilty. You feel guilty about the fact you're not waking up early every single day. And then you're stuck. And this fatigue starts the process of you being less effective and efficient in the work that you are doing. And it eventually results in you going into a negative cycle. So the first thing is fatigue. So bad inputs. So not getting enough sleep, eating bad food, consuming negativity is a very large one. The feed of the stuff you're watching. Are you watching the news? Are you eating bad food? Stuff like that. Bad inputs are going to result in your fatigue. A way to resolve fatigue I would recommend is to look into how Olympic athletes manage their longevity. Another one, aimlessness, right? When you're aimlessness, you have the tendency to indulge into these vices. Now, the problem with vices is that they perpetuate your addictions, first off, but they also spike your dopamine and make it harder to do the things that you should be doing and easier to do the things that you should not be doing, as it raises your dopaminergic threshold. Once you do your vices, you feel guilty about your vices. You feel guilty about the fact that you can't do what you're doing. You feel discouraged, and then you feel stuck. You're like, I can't believe I just did this. I can't believe I did this and I fell into this process, and I can't believe I'm in this negative pit again. And that's your ego basically keeping you stuck and saying, well, I know that I am this person right now. Whereas when you resolve your ego, first off, and you realize that you don't know where you're going and this is just a step in the right direction, this will get you unstuck, right? So what we need to do first off to break all of your negative cycles is to see how I did that? Become aware. You must be mindful of the things that you are doing, of the things that you are consuming, of the processes you go to, of the people you spend time around. You need to be aware of the loop, the trigger, and the belief behind the behavior. This is why something that I do every single day without fail is meditation. This is because it allows you to, one, resolve your mental fatigue, because if you have a bad thought that comes into your head, you can sort of just brush it away, but also it allows you to reflect on the things that you have been doing, as well as journaling. I journal in the morning and I journal at night. And something I do at night is I get my done by 1 in the morning. So I have a set list of needle moving tasks that I do the next day. And this also limits my fatigue because 1 o'clock is pretty late in the day. So even if I'm not getting enough sleep, I don't see waking up as 5 a.m. as the essential thing you have to do every single day. Now, for some people, that might be what they do. For me personally, I value my sleep. I'm getting down to 12% body fat, and I'm on route to hit 300 pounds on bench press by the end of this year. I need to sleep. And not only do I need sleep, but I need to limit my fatigue in all realms to be able to actually stay out of these negative cycles and turn them into a positive cycle. Instead of going clockwise, we go counterclockwise. I don't know, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, you need to be aware of what causes the loop. And I think the trigger is typically either fatigue, aimlessness, discouragement, or your ego. You don't think you need to improve, or you feel like you're not doing a good job. That's all ego. That's all thinking that you're in this current moment, and this current moment is you, your thoughts are you, and everything's bad. This is why you need to meditate. This is why you need to journal. This is why you need to reflect on the things that are going through your mind. This is where honest reflection comes in. So, another thing. Give me just a second. I'm gonna grab my little thing. You gotta rewire your beliefs. Okay? And again, above all of this is a very large thing, which is meditation. Again, I think it's the most important thing that you can do. It's something that I do every single day because it piles up like dirty laundry. If you don't do your laundry, it piles up, smells like shit, then you got no clothes to wear and everything's bad, right? That's meditation for me. If I do not meditate, my chances of falling into a negative cycle is perpetuated 3 days later, and before I realize it, I'm living unconsciously. Meditating allows you to live consciously and to be aware of all of these things, and this awareness allows you as well to rewire your beliefs, right? When you meditate and you have a negative thought that comes into your mind and you brush it away and you become aware of your thoughts in your day-to-day life, when you have all these negative thoughts coming into your brain, which I think they say makes up about 88% of all thoughts you have, with those thoughts, if you don't have the ability to be aware of them and brush them away, you are going to identify with them, which is your ego. You have this thought in your mind that says, oh my gosh, I slipped up, everyone thinks I'm stupid. You're thinking way too egotistically. And you're thinking, oh, well, I am this, I am that. Ego is the I, okay? You need to rid your ego to be able to understand that, first off, it's not that serious, but you also need to do it in order to rewire your beliefs, right? So when you catch yourself saying something, right, because you are actually aware, because you have become aware of your negative beliefs, when something negative leaves your mouth or you think it in your mind, you can dissociate yourself from those thoughts, right? Under every single cycle of yours that you go through is a negative, false story. With meditation, you're able to be aware of these false stories that are being fed into your mind, and you're able to challenge and reframe the identity and the belief systems that keep that pattern alive, okay? This is the cognitive restructuring phase, okay? This is why something like meditation, journaling is so important. It's not just because it feels good and you're stacking dubs, although you do build contingency, I think it's called, or self-efficacy. You do build self-belief by doing these things, but it also allows you to take a step back from your ego and realize that it's keeping you stuck. Anytime you compare yourself to someone else, well, oh, I'm worse than this person, oh, I'm better than that person, you are affirming to your mind that in this current moment you are here, and that is who you are. You are an ever-changing being. The person you were before you click on this video is a different person than you are watching this video, receiving these fucking downloads of these banger-ass ideas that I'm projecting onto you. You're an entirely different person. That's what you need to realize. 5 years ago, you had no clue where you'd be today. And so every negative cycle you go through now, who's to say it's not going to lead you to an exponentially better place in 5 years? You gotta drop your ego, right? You have to realize when something hurts your feelings, it is not your feelings, it is your ego trying to latch onto an old identity. So meditation can allow you to distance yourself from that ego and learn from the negativity that you're interpreting rather than affirming where you are in your negative place. Okay? Bars right there. E of the break process, of breaking your cycles, is engineer. Your environment. Okay? So a big part of aimlessness is indulging in devices. What if your vices are invisible? What are you gonna do then? Probably something a whole lot more productive, right? This is something you need to realize, okay? The things that will cause you to have bad inputs is shaped by your environment, right? If you eat shitty food, if you get bad sleep, if you indulge in these vices, which are your bad inputs, which will ultimately result in worse outputs and you being in a worse place, is perpetuated by the fact that your environment is not engineered for your success, right? You scroll social media all day and your dopamine's fried. You feel like your skin's crawling when you're not scrolling some terrible shit. And then as a result, you go to Pornhub, right? As a result, you smoke weed, stuff like that. Whereas if you engineered your environment, if you downloaded an app like Opal, which kicks you off of your Instagram after a certain time limit, or you set screen time limits, your dopamine would be under greater control because you engineered your environment for success. You kept yourself away from the bad inputs. You didn't buy junk food, you bought healthy food. So when you go to the store or when you go to the fridge to eat, there's only good food to eat. Guess what? You're still having better inputs naturally, okay? This is something you need to realize, all right? You can write this down, by the way. I can't write that down. You fall to the level of systems that you have put in place, okay? And so if your systems are not engineered for you to be disciplined, you should not wonder why you can't find yourself to be disciplined. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so if you're trying to quit smoking weed and you got a weed pen in your room, it's gonna be damn hard to quit. Just get rid of it. Engineer your environment for the person who you want to be, okay? Shift the people, places, habits, and tools around you to support your new direction that you are going based upon the goal that you've set, based upon the SMART goal that you have set, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. I will achieve this amount of money by this date by doing A, B, and C, right? I will do this, specific. I will have this amount of money, measurable, which is also achievable because anything's really achievable. I'm gonna keep it real. Relevant. Do you genuinely want the money for the money, or do you want status, or is it somebody else's goals? And then time bound, the date of this. There's also a whole video I have on that. I've mentioned it so many times, and I'm probably gonna remake it because it's kind of crappy by means of how good these videos are now. But anyways, and then A, align yourself. You gotta align yourself. A, align. I just feel like no matter how hard you try, you just can't get an edge. You keep delving into devices, you keep shaming yourself. This is the program that I designed based on all of my experience through 4 years of personal development, trial and error, 40 books I've read, over $6,000 spent on personal development alone. And it's all based upon daily fitness and mindset accountability to get you set with goals, to program your mindset for success, to get you in shape, and to change your entire life in 3 months, which took me over 4 years to learn. It's all designed upon getting you propelled forward in 3 months, busting you out of your ruts, and getting you on the right track ASAP. If you're interested, schedule a call. It's absolutely free for the first one, and I'll just run you through what we got to see if you're interested. Back to the video. Okay, build from the inside out. Adopt the behaviors and mindset of the person that you want to become, not the one you've been, okay? This is a big thing about the ego, right? Is it loves to say, well, this is what I do. Well, I'm just someone who eats shitty. I'm just not someone who goes to the gym. Or on the contrary, I am someone who goes to the gym. Anything that affirms your identity, which is actually ever changing, is keeping you stuck. The more you say, I do this, I don't do that, it changes your belief systems, which keeps you stuck, okay? So you need to align yourself to the mindset and behaviors of the person you want to become. This is why it's so important to set a SMART goal, is because when you have your North Star, you gotta think, okay, well, I'm gonna be 12% body fat by the end of this year. I'm gonna bench 300 pounds. Well, what does this person do in their day-to-day life? And then you gotta engineer your environment to make that who you are. You have to align yourself with that person, and eventually, sooner than later, you'll reach it. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. This is what you got to realize. Anything's possible, okay? And then K, feedback loop. Keep a feedback loop. That's the K. Keep a feedback loop. Shut up, okay? Measure your progress, okay? So something that I like to do is, again, as I said, in the morning, I do my done by ones. So I journal every single solitary day. At the end of the week, I do a weekly review of whether I achieved my goals for the week or not. That is tracking my progress. That is a way to track, reflect, and adjust what I did. So last week, I didn't post 3 videos in time. So this week, I aimed for more videos. This week, I'm making 3 videos in one day. Well, depending on, this video, I'm making 3 videos in one day. And I'm also editing and posting reels and scheduling them. That is readjusting. That is reflecting. That is course correcting yourself, okay? This is how patterns stay broken. Being aware of everything that you're doing, which is probably the most important thing, honestly, right? Is the B, right? Be aware. Be aware of the negative cycle and realize that it is not you, okay? Realize that these bad inputs are not you. These vices are not you. This guilt is not you, okay? You're just setting yourself up for failure with bad inputs because your environment isn't engineered for you to have better inputs, right? You are just around people who do a lot of the vices that you're doing. That's because you're not engineering the people around you, okay? And you're aimless also. That's a big thing. You don't have a goal. You need to have a set goal. Where are you going, dude? You can't get mad that you don't reach this level of perfection which you've never defined, because you'll always fall short. That is what results in discouragement and guilt. Oh, well, I can't believe I didn't do my 19-step morning routine. Why did you need to do that in the first place? That's what you need to think about, okay? If you're getting discouraged, you're discouraged because you're measuring yourself up against these undefinable, unreachable standards of perfection. It's no wonder you're getting discouraged. Be aware. Be aware of where you're going. Brother, anyone who has something that you want, anybody who has a life that's more abundant than you, anyone who's taken their kids out on cruises and has this good, lavish lifestyle with yachts, they didn't do that on accident. You don't fall into positive circumstances by accident, just by the means of the law of entropy. Anything that isn't managed moves towards a state of disorder, okay? And so if you don't break your negative cycles, if you don't manage your life, it's going to move to a state of disorder. If you do not control where you are going, someone else will control where you are going, and it's not going to be pleasant. This is what you got to realize, okay? So be aware of where you're going. Rewire your beliefs through this awareness, through stuff like meditation, through stuff like journaling. Okay, through stuff like engineering your environment, okay? So where did you do the stuff that made you feel guilty, and your vices and your bad inputs and what made you feel, where did that all come from, okay? Engineer it to make it not happen. Engineer your environment to add as much resistance between you and bad inputs and as little resistance as possible between you and good inputs, even if that's buying a meal prep service, even if that's putting a pair of shoes by your door to remind you to go to the gym, even if that's just having good food in the fridge, okay? Engineer your environment for success, okay? Be aware. Okay, well, I do this, and then I do this, and I do this, and I do that. Okay, well, then I need to stop the first this. That's engineering your environment. I scroll social media, I feel like shit, I eat junk food, I watch porn, I feel guilty. Okay, well, what was the first thing of that? Get rid of it. Move your phone to the bathroom. Where did you do it at? Get rid of it. Engineer your environment. Align yourself with an identity, right? With these goals that you have set. You're not chasing a goal, you're chasing a feeling. Feel how that person feels when they've achieved that goal. Align yourself with that person who has achieved that goal. And then by means of life in general, once you do align yourself with that goal, you will reach it. And by align yourself with that goal, I don't mean, that sounds hard to explain. By aligning yourself with your goal, I mean becoming he who can. By visualizing yourself as the version of you achieving that goal, having already achieved it. In your meditation, which you should pick up if you haven't already, after this video, relax yourself and focus on the feeling that you want when that goal will be reached, okay? A large problem is a lot of people, they chase these goals and they always fall short of them because they're not allowing themselves to feel the feeling of the goal that they're going to achieve, right? You're not chasing a goal, you're chasing how it's going to feel when you achieve that goal. So allow yourself to feel that goal, and by means of identifying yourself with the person who has already achieved that goal and feeling it, the goal will naturally come to you. That's what I mean by aligning with your identity. There's a whole other realm to this stuff than you even think, brother, okay? So realize that, and then keep a feedback loop, okay? Systemize your life for success. Like me, for example, I have a mat on the floor, which reminds me to meditate in the morning. I have the same pair of clothes that I meditate in. I meditate in the morning and night. I have the same process in the morning, same process at night. When I wake up, I look at my journal. When I go to sleep, I journal. Then I get to work, and the rest of the day I relax. And then I have daily tasks that I need to do that I'm doing right now. This is my done by one. Make a video on negative cycles. I'm practicing what I preach, okay? But yeah, this is the stuff that will change your fucking life. This is the most important stuff that will change your life, okay? So if you have confusions with this, just leave a comment. If you are interested in actually being guided through this stuff, I do have a program where I will be able to speak to you one-on-one, guide you through all this stuff, guide you through the craft process, which is way more than just breaking a negative cycle. It's actually identifying what your specific negative vices are that are perpetuating you, and it's just a huge process for you to be aware. And then there's also fitness intertwined with that as well. So there's fitness programs that I'll run you through. I'll track your macros, hold you accountable, so I'll get you in shape, allow you to automate, basically, change your environment for you to be more successful. And yeah, I'll get you in shape, get your mindset right, and in 3 months, you'll come back a new man. Trust. So yeah, if you're interested, leave a comment. If you found any value from this video, like it, please. Share it with other people. If you think this would benefit others, I have a goal of helping 10,000 people believe in themselves by the end of this year, and that can only be done by having other people help me out, as well as me posting videos. So if you could please help me with that, that would be great. I'm not in it for the money, I'm in it for the beliefs of other people, although the money is a factor, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, so help me out. If you have any confusion, let me know in the comments. I'll reply ASAP. Have a good one. Peace.